Hello, welcome everyone on the panel and those joining us from around the globe for Global Student Chat. Gen X. Global Student Chat is a student-led Twitter chat that connects K through 12 students worldwide to discuss topics and questions related to a character, education, social justice, and citizenship. Global Student Chat creates opportunities for students to network with others, gain perspective, build relationships with new learning platforms in a literacy-rich learning environment, experience social media as a powerful platform for learning, and establish a positive digital footprint. Thank you for joining us, and I'll hand the mic over to Samar.
Thank you so much, Madeline, and hello to everyone tuning into today's conversation from all over the world. We'd love to get to know you better, so feel free to tell us your first name and where you're joining us from in the world. Concerning the Tech Talk, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can interact with the Global Student Chat team by signing in with the Google account and then using the chat feature to make comments or ask questions. If you have a Twitter account, you can follow the hashtag Global Student Chat to see what other people are saying about ideas, thoughts, and questions. You can also add your own thoughts to the conversation. We'll use the Q1A1 structure, and if you have any questions, we'll pose them to the panel. Please keep in mind that this chat is open for students residing in the K to 12 grades, so your comments and questions should be appropriate for all ages. Passing the mic to Rebecca.
Hi, thank you, Samar. So I'm just going to be running over our norms. So we will have 30 minutes to discuss 3 questions. Please be mindful that this chat is open to students in K to 12. Active participation from all classes is how we learn. All comments made during the chat should be positive and productive. We welcome diverse opinions. You may not agree with something someone has said, but we ask that when challenging an idea, you respectfully disagree with the idea and not the individual person. And of course, being respectful online includes using language that is inclusive and culturally appropriate. So now I'm going to just circle back a little bit and introduce our expert panelists today.
That would be me. My name's Jill Parsons. I would be the expert panelist for today's chat, and I'm really excited to kind of hear what everyone has to say. I am in the Gen Z generation, so I'm really excited for this. Thank you for having me.
Cool, thank you. And Darcy, if you'd like to get us started.
Should we do some introductions maybe of everyone else on panel before we start? I know I can start, I guess. So my name's Darcy. I'm originally from Goderich, Ontario, but I attend Appleby College in Oakville now. And yeah, I'm really excited for the chat today. I don't know, maybe Sam wants to go next or.
Sure. Hi, I'm Sam. I've been with the chat from the beginning. So that was when I was in grade 7. I'm now in grade 12. You guys can do the math. I'm excited to talk about Gen Z. From here, let's go top left and just work our way down with intros.
Right. So hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm a grade 11 student at Cardinal Carter in Canada, Ontario. I'm going to pass the mic over to my right.
Thank you, Rebecca. Hi, everybody. I'm Joshi, a grade 10 student at Satpal Middle School in India, and this is my second year at the Global Student Chat. I'm very excited to talk about the topic that we have for today, that's Gen Z.
Hi, I'm Madeline. I'm a grade 8 student at Stikine Middle School in Wrangell, Alaska, and this is my 3rd year with the Global Student Chat.
And hello, my name is Simar Mohanti. I'm an 11th grade student changemaker and STEMnist from Bangalore, India. I'm super pumped for today's conversation.
Awesome. Okay, now that we've done introductions, I think we can get into the first question for today. So that is, according to you, what are the core Gen Z characteristics?
It's a great question. I wouldn't mind starting us off. So I would just like to list something that's really stood out to me between Gen Z characteristics lately. And I would like to say that it's resilience. I want to say that because especially since we've recently experienced a global pandemic, we were able to really adapt to our environment, our way of learning, and just continue to be strong with each other and push through. And of course, I'd like to say this generation is quite diverse. We're independent, competitive, we're creative, imaginative, supportive, and not to throw in any cons, but I would say we are quite dependent on technology, but that's only because our world today has been evolving lately, and everything that has important information, documents, it's all done online via e-transfer, internet, teaching, everything lately. So that's what I would sum it up as, I think.
I totally agree with that, Rebecca. That we Gen Z are very diverse, and I totally agree with the point when you mentioned technology. Like our lives are very much around technology these days, because Gen Z and autism technology, that's not possible because it's being used literally everywhere. Like also when we come to the pandemic, that has helped many of the Gen Z generation to come about technology in every single way. And even I believe that Gen Z is very collaborative and self-reliant. They're very financially focused, and that's how we can see the spirit of entrepreneurship as well in Gen Z. They aren't afraid to chase their ideas, and they also believe in making bold decisions because they are great risk takers as well. Because if we're passionate about something, then we want to make that possible in any way, and that's what makes them competitive and focused. And when it comes to competition, I believe that is driving this generation a lot. And one of the characteristics that I really like is that Gen Z accepts change, and that's what makes them the change makers. And with limitless information at their tips, they have a lot of knowledge, and they get so much exposure with that because they keep on reading different things every day, and that exposes them to different kind of topics, and that gives them new ideas and different experiences. And like you mentioned about this generation being a diverse one, they also know how to control their own destiny, and they don't want to rely on other people for their own success. And lastly, I think they believe that every voice matters and want their voice to be heard. So that's what makes us different and unique.
And I agree with everything Namia said, and just building off of that, I think Gen Z is more open-minded and proud. So I think we're more aware of being inclusive of disabilities, culture, gender, and like knowing how to word things correctly so we don't offend people, being more socially aware. I think we still have a ways to go, but like comparing to my parents' generation, we've came a long way. And I would say that our generation is just way more aware of just accepting people, and we're proud of what makes us unique and our culture, and I think that's really cool.
Just to wrap up that question, because we're getting close to that 10-minute mark, I feel like the core is like very valid in what we're talking about in Gen Z specifically. I feel like every generation thinks that they're unique to the generation before, which is 100% correct. I feel like a huge core part of Gen Z is that we are digital natives and not digital adopters. So unlike millennials or Gen X, we have only known technology and only known the age of technology. And I'm on the older side of Gen Z. I'm 21, I'm in college, and I'm about to graduate college. And even then, I didn't know a life without an iPhone or technology. Even though I was born then, I don't remember a time before then. So definitely being digital natives is like a huge core in Gen Z, and we've been exposed to more than most people, even adults. So because of technology. So I definitely think those are some strong core, and that allows us to be inclusive to other people as well.
I completely agree with what you said over there, Jill. Generation Z has been defined as digital natives. And apart from the buzz in pop culture, memes, hashtags, and slang, honestly, like Madeline mentioned, I think that Gen Z is quite friendly and believes in self expression. Gen Z is a diverse generation that is open to different ways of doing different things, whether it is self exploration or trying to understand the opinions of others. Gen Zers shouldn't let a single stereotype define them. Instead, they always try to find different ways to express themselves and change who they are over time. Gen Z generally likes to debate and is open to different points of view, which is a big plus point, because this often tells us about the mix of individualism, rejecting stereotypes, and fragmentation of our generation. And also, mental health is becoming more and more popular, which is a win win situation. And I really think that Gen Z is quite competitive and has a lot of business ideas. Like almost everywhere, you can see like children from single digit ages thinking about becoming entrepreneurs and starting their own business and never having a boss since they were young. And they also always want to win every single debate and sports game. This group is always in a race, whether it is with other groups or with itself, and the constant time pressure. They do not have patience and they have a short attention span. And this is, I think, something that defines Gen Z a lot, apart from being digital natives.
I like agree 100%. I would definitely say that the biggest thing I think of when I think of Gen Z is like being inclusive and open-minded. And I think, Maddie talked about this and like so did some other panelists, but I think a big part of that comes from globalization and technology. I think, we are able to connect to people across the world that we were never able to connect to in the past. And that's introduced us to like new cultures, different types of people, like new perspectives. And I just think that that's something that's, to me, like really beautiful about being a Gen Z, I guess, is just like connecting with and meeting new people from like all across the world. And I think it really like brings us together, and it really strengthens us as a generation, and like we're open to like new identities and stuff, which I think is like really cool. I don't know if anyone else wants to add anything, but I think we can go to question 2. So the second question for today is, how has Gen Z shaped the digital world?
Yeah, so I can start this one off. Again, I love these questions. I feel like it's definitely stereotyped a lot that Gen Z is, pretty dependent on our phones, but I guess I'll circle into that a bit later. But I feel like we've shaped the digital world by our influence. What I mean by this is like our future technology and the next updated iPhone or laptop or watches that come out are often, shaped and built around suggestions and things that have been circulated and talked about by this generation. Like we constantly advertise our ideas on social media about, oh, it'd be so cool if like I could open my house windows just by speaking to my Alexa, and updates like that are developed. And next thing you know, it's a very real thing. And on top of that, like new apps and software that benefits people in the workplace, our teachers, and ourselves, of course. Again, I feel like all the ideas really come from what this generation really talks about wanting to have. And again, same thing I would say follows for our updates, especially I'm going to give an example as like emojis. I know I've definitely seen people on, social media platform TikTok talking about, oh, I think it'd be so cool if we had an otter emoji, like the animal, because we have a lot of animal emojis, but we don't have this one. And next thing you know, at the next Apple update release, there's a new otter emoji. And I really feel like it is the impact of our voices that are what affect the current coming updates.
I totally agree with that, Rebecca, that you're talking about, new things that come up in the Apple iPhone or different tools that we want. And like the new updates that are coming up are all like thinking all about the ideas of our generation. Like you talked about one of the emoji, like I have an example too. Like when we have Minecraft updates coming up, so people keep on like commenting that we want this mob, that we want this mob, and then they create the poll, and then we have a new mob there in Minecraft Education Edition or any other version. That's again shaped around the Gen Z. And like when it comes to the term tech savvy, it is basically reminding us of the images of young digital citizens who are effortlessly manipulating technology in so many ways that people from the older generations often struggle to even like emulate about it. And our generation has shaped the digital world by creating so many startups and new technologies. And this generation, I must say, is the group that has altered the way of doing things differently. And we are a part of major political engagements. where we are funding the world of advanced technology with incubation to innovation. And like we've proved that with using YouTube or using digital tools, we are providing a place for accessible information. And the research tactics and how to search things out have been able to make Gen Z more proactive and engaged. And that's what makes me believe that we are very balanced, informed, engaged, inclusive, alert, and that's what makes us an impactor. And being a proud Gen Z impactor, I am too helping other people and myself as well to lead the way as a change maker.
Um, yeah, that's all. I totally agree with that. And I think Gen Z, we have way more access to information on the internet than previous generations have. We have social connections through social media and shopping online, which a lot of people did during COVID. And we expect it to be working. Like, we expect technology to be running for us, to be ready to use when we're ready to use it. And I also think that we are increasing the demand. We are always wanting the newest model of things, but also we're helping maybe your aunt or your grandparents who don't know how to set up technology. We are helping them set it up, and then they're gonna also be more knowledgeable and increasing the demand. So yeah.
I completely agree with what you said over there, Madeline. And I really think that Gen Z is quite unique in this way because they are quite creative and use cutting edge technology to share what they have on their minds on the internet. Gen Z is actually changing the way that people talk to each other and the way people think. It is a way for people like us to show who we actually are. And Gen Z doesn't watch, they do things. They make things while people in the past just bought things. Gen Zers make apps, post videos on YouTube, and have a lot of digital influence. Like for example, when you head out on social media, you see so many people, young people, who are launching hashtag movements. They are launching digital petitions, and they are also launching many fundraisers for many causes, among other things. And then let's take an example of a very famous industry, the gaming industry. It is now more than just playing a video game. Gen Z uses social media to show this, and Gen Z often use video games combined with social media to make friends, hang out, and share their work, and even show what creativity that they have in their minds by solving real world problems using these tech tools. And they obviously monetize this as well to make money out of their skills. This generation's love for technology is actually making new reality by mixing virtual and real worlds. And Gen Z actually understands how technology can change business and life both together. And like, I'm really excited for these new terms which emerged during the 2000s, that is AI, ML, you have VR, XR, these big words which are coming and which are growing. Today we even have, things in the cryptocurrency world and, the Eth3 DAO stuff. So I'm super excited for what's there in store for that.
I definitely, technology is such a good thing to harp on, especially with our generation because we're natives. But I want to encourage anyone in our generation, especially students who have the knowledge of how to use their voice, how do they integrate their use of technology, but also to affect and teach further generations as well as previous generations. So we have this we're like in this weird in-between stage where we came about in the age of technology where everyone's learning it, but we have an intrinsic ability to kind of learn it because we just were born into it. How do I help further generations be responsible as digital citizens and use their voice responsibly, but also previous generations who have no idea what they're doing either? So it's put us in a really interesting space of authority, but also in respect to previous generations that they didn't have the ability to share their voice or the ability to share their opinions. And I think that our ability to teach and also help in a positive, very high leadership role is really important for our generation to learn and also send out into generations after us and younger individuals and students in Gen Z as well.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely is it's definitely our responsibility to try to help other generations learn how to use technology because we grew up into it. Like, as far as I remember, my parents had a phone of some sort when I was growing up. I know that they would have just barely gotten them when I was young, but as far as I remember, there's always been some sort of tech in the house, whether it's just a TV or a PlayStation or something. There's always been something for me to play with and to figure out how it works, and definitely have helped my parents in the figure some stuff out too. And it's definitely our job to try to help other generations too. And I think a lot of people have done that, and we fit into that role really well. And I think that is one of the biggest ways we've helped shape the digital world, is just by helping other people understand it, because we just know what we're doing. There's a new app come out. Oh, we know how to use it like within 5 minutes. Other people might not know how to do that. Yeah.
I definitely agree with that too, Sam. I think another big part of that is like not even like the technical aspect, but also just like how we use the platforms and like what our digital footprint is. And like I think that's why it's also so important, is because there are those younger generations looking up to us, but then also those older generations too, because we're kind of put in that interesting position that might need some guidance. So I think how we're using these platforms also, especially for change and for the greater good, is so important because other people see us as role models in that sense. I guess with that, we can move on to the last question for today. And that is, what is one thing you would like adults to know about you and your generation?
Yeah, I can kick this one off. So one thing that I feel like really needs to be expressed to adults, especially like I'm going to throw my parents under the bus here all the time. Anytime I have some sort of issue, their automatic response to that is, oh, it's because you're always on that phone. So I feel like this is a pretty prominent stereotype that is going around about this generation. And I feel like it's really important that adults understand that, kind of like what everyone's already mentioned about us being natives to it, this is the reality and the way of life that we were born into. Like, I can't think of a time in my life where if I had a question, I didn't have the internet available to me. And I have always grown up knowing, yeah, sure, there's a clock on the wall, but oh, look, my friend has that cute little watch that's got a face and it can send text messages and stuff like that. And I've always had my phone and everything like that. I feel like adults need to understand that we use it for more than just entertainment. I mean, it is a plus, but we are partly dependent on it because this is the only thing we know. And I feel like everyone has touched upon everything else I'd want to say for this question. So I'm going to pass the mic on.
It's not so much a stereotype, but I think that adults should know that students and Gen Zs can help Gen Zs. Let students help other kids our age, and that teenagers can rely on each other. We don't always have to ask an adult for help, but we trust each other too, especially like when we're in school. And maybe give us opportunities to connect with other students. I feel like I've been lucky enough to have a lot of opportunities to connect with other people around my age, like right now. But I feel like some kids aren't that lucky. So I think adults should trust us to be responsible enough to do that and give students a chance to lead. Like I said, I've been lucky enough to have some pretty good opportunities, but I think that it would be really beneficial to have more chances to lead, and that we don't always need answers given to us from other generations, that sometimes the answer to a problem or the solution is right in our generation.
That's really well said, Madeline. That we can rely on each other, connection matters, and providing opportunities to equally to all students is what is very important. And I believe that our generation is very unique and wishes to replace the ignorance that has destroyed the human mind with true knowledge. And when we will work together, we will construct unity in this world that has been brutally torn apart by, false divisions of race, religion, gender, nationality, or even age. And we wish to heal the hearts of the lonely ones. And it's very for sure that every generation has its pros and cons. If you're having passionate change makers who are more dedicated than the previous generations, we do have people with more depression, mental health issues, and stress than the previous generations. So it's important that we work on the faults and enhance our great skills. The only thing that our generation asks is for motivation and support.
Absolutely. Talking about change makers, I think that change can actually only start when you ask and answer the right questions. I think that the one thing that other generations should learn from Generation Z is to be curious and not mind exploring other points of view or speaking your own mind. I think that change is something that our generation needed, and in many ways, we got it by being the change that we wish to see in the world. We have like so many great people to look up to, not only like the famous personalities but also like the normal kids in our classroom. Like, take an example, in primary school we have Gen Zers who are learning about segregating waste. They're going on cleanathons, and then they also go on virtual field trips so that they can learn more about the world they are in at the beginning of middle school. And then you're amongst the best programmers in your block. Students have self-coded websites, program games, and product and different projects which are already up and running, and they have utilized technology to do so much good for the world. And then you also see student-led clubs and organizations who work together and use technology to not only express themselves but also connect with other people around the world to solve the most pressing problems of the world. Fast forward to high school, and then you see that these Gen Zers become the best communicators and have like super deep and meaningful conversations on different topics. You see that they express their voice using debates, podcasts, blog posts, published works, hashtag movements, so that they can build, this sort of structure for this generation, one brick at a time, a place where every person's voice is not only heard, but it's also respected and it's acknowledged and it's acted upon. So I think that these kids later graduate with something which is quite crucial to learn about how life functions, that is the 21st century skills. And later when they get enrolled into the job workplace, you see them solving so many issues around the world, like climate injustice, LGBTQIA plus rights, and then gender equality, and they're constantly pushing for acceptance and justice. Gen Z always looks for a bigger goal to work towards, and our generation becomes passionate for a single cause, which drives us in a way that age just becomes a number. And this Gen Z passion actually makes these youth change makers well known and strong on the world stage. Age is nothing but just a number when you become the change. So, to sum it all up, the one thing that I'd like to convey to folks tuning in from all the generations around the world is that this quote is even a question as one of our slow chat questions, that Thomas Jefferson said that every generation needs to be the revolution, but we Gen Zers say that you should be the revolution.
I thought I would just touch on something Jen Casatod brought up. What about negative connections like cyberbullying? So something I would suggest to adults about cyberbullying is that it is a new form of bullying. It's different, but bullying happens regardless. If anything, it is easier to ignore cyberbullying than it is to ignore bullying that happens in person. There are features online where you can block people. You can just not respond to it. There are things you can do more online than you can in person. You can't just hit a button and block somebody from saying something to you or punching you in the face. You can do that online though. You can set restrictions, and there's things to avoid it online. So there are those negative aspects of being online and being always connected, but there's also ways to control that and to be able to get around things like that. And I think that's just something some people don't understand just because they don't know enough about it. There are things you can do, and it's it's easier than, than being in person. It's pretty hard to give someone the cold shoulder in person and just ignore it. And then another thing I just wanted to bring up too is that I know some parents, I know people have touched on it already, but the oh, you're always on your phone. That's where the world's going. Sometimes, I know not everybody, but some people, they might be doing something on their computer or their phone. They might actually be learning something. I know on YouTube, like I watch admittedly too much YouTube, but I also learn a lot from it. So yes, there should be some restrictions on maybe screen time and all that. I'm not saying you shouldn't have restrictions like that, but there are things that your kids could be learning, and Gen Z is just that generation that is always learning online. Like, sure, sometimes it's useless knowledge, but there are a lot of times where you are learning something interesting or something new that you just wouldn't know before. I know my brother is incredibly into fun facts, and he's just constantly learning something new. And there's always something new he's got in his head to share at the dinner table every night. And he wouldn't learn that if he wasn't like looking things up online and doing that. So I would encourage parents to encourage their kids to go and learn something online. You don't always need to just learn in school, and the internet doesn't need to just be a form of entertainment. It could be a learning tool and entertainment at the same time. My laptop is telling me that it's almost dead, so I'm gonna finish.
I'll just finish this out. Just to wrap up, I think that something that is going to be really valuable and what really needs to be conveyed is, yes, Gen Z is the doers, and yes, we have the initiative and the drive to do great things, but we need what we need the previous generations to do for us in order to be able to be successful in that area is create those opportunities, or at least be open to the next generation's opportunities that they want to give. I want people to know that you shouldn't underestimate a Gen Z's ability to make change or to have wise words. I think that we have a different insight than some people, and I'm not saying it's more or less than previous generations, especially when age is so associated with wisdom. But we need those opportunities. If you expect something from us, give us the opportunities that allow us to meet those expectations. And most of the time, it's not a guarantee, but I can, most of my generation, they see that expectation and they usually go above that expectation because they expect more of themselves. So giving those opportunities for us to succeed, as well as just show that we can do it. Don't underestimate the ability that we have.
Thank you so much, Jill, and everybody for answering these lovely questions. And totally agree, we must not underestimate the Gen Z, and giving opportunities is what matters. So, although this live discussion is ending, we invite you to continue all month long. And our first flowchart question for you to consider is this quote by Thomas Jefferson: "Every generation needs a revolution." What does this quote mean to you? Well, for me, I must say that we all know that humans have been inhabiting this earth for a long time. And over time, times have changed and humans have evolved. The world has become so much developed, and also has the mankind. And it is always nice to have fresh ideas and points of view. And it's a clear indication of how we are advancing and developing at a great level. So also this comes to the ripple effect as well, because to have a revolution is not just for saying, we need to act for it. And each time a person stands up for an idea, or acts to improve the lot of other people, or strikes out against injustice, the person is able to send a tiny ripple of hope, and that helps to cross each other from a million different centers of energy and daring. And those ripples bring out the current that can sweep down the mightiest of walls of oppression and resistance. And that's why we need a revolution to change the world. So be sure to use the global student hashtag, and you can tag us on our team so we can interact with you during the slow chat. And thank you everyone for joining us during the Global Student Live broadcast. Thank you to our student team, our student guest panelists, and our expert today, Jill Parsons. And talking about the social media ambassador program, are you a digital leader or want to become one? Global Student Chat is always seeking student social media ambassadors. This information can be found on globalsschat.com, and we are always looking for students who excel or are looking to grow the digital leadership skills. Please keep the conversation going by answering our slow chat for the rest of the month. Be sure to use the hashtag Global Student Chat hashtag so our team can interact with you. Please follow and connect with us on social media, website globaledsschat.com, Twitter at the Global Student Chat, Instagram at the Global Student Chat. And watch for the details about the next month's chat, which will be posted on our website on the 1st of each month. The next Global Student Chat Live will take place on January 20th, 2023. And the topic is smartphones versus smart people. A nice topic. Thanks again for joining us. See you online.